Hello people of the internet, welcome back. This video I'm going to be talking about going on holiday with a cochlear implant and just some things to take into account. This should be pretty quick because I recently went on holiday and I've got a cochlear implant. First point, airport security. If you're going by plane, you need to tell them that you've got a cochlear implant and because you can't go through the scanners. I mean, they normally know what to do. I would, if you're going to a country that doesn't speak your language, learn the word for cochlear implant in the language of that place. And if you have like long hair, tie your hair back so people can see it. So if you don't say it clearly or they don't understand what you're saying, you can kind of point to it and they'll usually have seen them before. They were very good about it. They just take you to one side and pat you down and whatever. But I did feel a bit like I was being an inconvenience, but you're not. It was a little bit like, we have a woman with a cochlear implant. You come to this side, we'll unlock the gate for you, which is a little bit, I don't know, it felt a bit weird. The other thing that I was worried about that didn't actually end up being an issue, so I thought I'd just let people know, was I was worried about the pressure changes on the plane, that it would like really hurt my ear or something, but it didn't, so that was fine. So if anyone was worried about that, obviously get some chewing gum or something. The pressure's not changing too much in your ear, but that wasn't too much of an issue. Communicating with strangers in another country, I had a bit of an issue that I'm not sure a lot of people would necessarily have, but I was going to a country where I speak the language. So we went to Spain and I do speak Spanish. However, I'm really bad at reading lips in Spanish and I'm the only person in my family that speaks any Spanish. So it was a bit of a weird situation where I was kind of I was the kind of default translator of my family, but I couldn't actually understand anything anyone was saying because I'm really bad at just reading lips in Spanish. I can't do it. But when I speak Spanish, I sound normal. So I sound like I speak good Spanish. People don't really understand the fact that I can speak to you completely fine, but I can't actually understand anything you're saying, which is a bit of an odd scenario and it's quite hard to explain to people. I just have to normally say that I'm deaf. And my family don't really understand this. They kind of logically understand it, but they're like, oh, Nell, can you just ask them? But I'm like, I can't ask them, but I'm not going to know what they're saying. All that happens when I speak to people is it gives them the wrong idea that I can actually understand them when I can't. I would recommend, if you can't understand people that you don't know, this is in general, but especially if it's on holiday, like if it's a second language or something and you don't, just write stuff down and don't speak unless you absolutely have to, other than to tell them that you're deaf. That's one of the things that I kind of wish that I did more. But my family, if I like type something on my phone, they're like, why didn't you just say it? Why didn't you just say it? It's like, you speak such good Spanish. They don't really get the fact that it's like, well, no, because when I speak to them, they then think I can understand them and I can't. So it's actually better for me to just write it down and show that to people. But for some reason, my family found that really odd. I don't know how to deal with that situation. Also, expect to get very tired. When you are deaf or hard of hearing, it's quite hard and you're living in a very kind of hearing environment, it's quite hard to keep up with what everyone's saying, and it is going to be tiring. Just don't overplan for socializing and stuff. Don't overestimate how much you can actually do. Try and keep stuff within your capabilities, which is sometimes hard, but just be aware of that. Motion sickness. A lot of people with cochlear implants have balance issues resulting from cochlear implants. I've had a lot of issues with vertigo and my balance and stuff before I had a cochlear implant. That's just part of my inner ear issues. I have balance problems. I did get very motion sick as part of our holiday. We went on a boat trip. I really shouldn't have gone. I shouldn't have gone. It was just, I would just had to lie there with my eyes closed the entire time. There's one photo of me on that boat where I look alive, but I've got my tongue sticking out. It's on those photos that looks good from a distance, and then you zoom in, and I'm like, lovely dad photography there. Yeah, but I was just kind of lying there like this the whole journey. It wasn't really. Don't overestimate. Don't go on boat trips and stuff. If you get motion sick, like, it's just not worth it. On the plane, I got really motion sick as well, which just got to, I wasn't actually sick, thank goodness, because that would have been so embarrassing. But I did have to, I was like, breathing. Put the window blind down when you can. Obviously, you can't on takeoff and landing, but on takeoff and landing, you can't, but like when you're up in the air, put the window blind down. I find that helps if you put the window blind down. Water sports and swimming. My cochlear implant and most brands of cochlear implants have various like waterproofing solution things that you can do. You can wear them in the water. I would recommend, if you're just going in a swimming pool and you're just going to be kind of floating around and whatever, absolutely just put it on with the waterproof thing and do it. If you're going in the sea and there's waves, or you're going to a water park and there's water slides or something, just don't bother with it. Like, it's not worth it. Just take it off. You don't need to hear for that. Especially if your family can sign and my family doesn't sign, unfortunately. So it does feel a little bit like you're expected to rely on lip reading. And I'm not that good at reading lips, unfortunately. It's one of those things that is a little bit, I'm very anxious going in public without my cochlear implant on. But it's one of those things where you just have to do it. And if you're having fun at a water park, the focus isn't on your cochlear implant or whether you can hear or not. You don't really need to hear to do it. It's just, I think it's more psychological, that feeling of like being able to hear anything. When you go on holiday, bring absolutely everything, spares of everything that you could possibly need. I would recommend all the major cochlear implant companies, I think, at least in the UK, you can contact them and they can give you a loan processor. They can lend you one for the time that you're on holiday. So if you have a problem with your processor while you're on holiday, you've got a spare. Yeah, obviously recommend doing that. In some countries, I know in America, when people get cochlear implants through their health insurance, they normally get given a spare processor as well, which obviously great. If you've got a spare processor, bring it with you. Bring spare batteries, charging packs if you use rechargeable batteries, tons of spare batteries, waterproofing, spare coils, spare cables, absolutely everything you could possibly need. I would also recommend just like a waterproof bag. So if, for example, you're at a water park or you want to go in the sea or something, you can put your cochlear implant equipment in a waterproof plastic bag, and then you don't have to worry about someone like water bottle leaking in your bag or something and breaking your implant or your processor. I just use like a normal freezer bag. It's the plastic freezer bag with the zip seal on the top. That worked absolutely fine for me. Going on holiday with an implant hasn't actually been too much of an issue. Some things that I would do differently is I would be much firmer with my family about not translating. I think that was one of the things that I did find quite stressful, and also something that I think I need to like work on psychologically, I don't know, or whatever. This is just not being super uncomfortable about not being able to hear and feeling a lot of pressure, like always looking around in case someone might say something to me. I need to just be a bit more like I just need to relax more and be like, well, if you want to talk to me, you need to actually make the effort to make sure I've heard you, not just start talking to me. You need to sort. That's something that I just need to work on a bit. But I've kind of gone on a bit. If anyone else has any more tips or advice about going on holiday with a cochlear implant or hearing aids, let me know in the comments. And thank you very much for watching, and bye.